Here's how Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z shows how the media shapes how we view the other. So in my color-coded series on my site a couple years ago, I wrote a lot about how green and blue were used as colors that signified the other. Of course, these were used for the alien characters, but there are also characters like Superman who are aliens who can blend in with society. And even characters who were green, like the Martian Manhunter, usually had human forms that were socially acceptable at the time. Like Martian Manhunter back in the 40s and 50s was usually a white man in his human form, but in the later years, in the 80s and 90s in particular, he had a different form, such as a Japanese woman, and nowadays he's a black man. So he's now taking on more forms that represent how society acknowledges different backgrounds and different races and cultures. Green and blue colors are also quick ways to talk about race without having to talk about it at length or in depth. It can also be a safe way to talk about race in comic books and cartoons, but it can also be a way to avoid talking about race. I'm sure you've heard people say the phrase or something along the lines of, I don't care if you're black, green, or purple, or whatever color you want to use in there. Some of those colors, of course, are kind of like gauche to say because they could be kind of like slurs, to be honest, but green and purple, no one is really green or purple in real life, and so it's a way to avoid talking about the actual issues that come with being actual skin tones that are on Earth. So that's something that's interesting about the dynamic of green and blue and how they're used in society and in pop culture. Piccolo is seen as black by a lot of DBZ fans because he's the only one of the main alien group, such as Goku and Vegeta, who cannot pass. Goku and Vegeta can because they look like humans outside of, having tails or whatever. But since they don't have tails, since they've got rid of their tails, they just look like guys. But Piccolo doesn't. He can't pass even if he wanted to. So that kind of mimics a little bit of how black people in general, and people of color, I guess, in general, have varied levels of success with quote-unquote passing or being accepted by the society at large. I also feel like because Piccolo is shunned, it also mimics how a lot of black people and a lot of people of color also, but black people in particular, feel like they're shunned by society and feel like society doesn't understand them. And seeing Piccolo deal with that can feel like you're being represented on some level. And something that's interesting about him is that even though he has trouble passing, or being accepted, rather, we do see that he is kind of just like anybody else. I mean, aside from, his arc of becoming a hero from being a villain, such as that driving episode that, has become legend in DBZ. We see that he is like anyone else, intelligent, humorous, and strangely enough, a good driver. And we see his intelligence and bravery and all his great qualities on display in a lot of the episodes of Dragon Ball Z and beyond. And personally, for me, Piccolo reminds me of my dad in a way. So for me, there's a personal layer as to why I kind of associate Piccolo with being black. And so Piccolo, along with Chi-Chi, who reminds me of my mom, are my two favorite characters in Dragon Ball Z. So those are my thoughts on why I think Piccolo is thought of as a black guy by the Dragon Ball Z fan base, and why green and blue alien colors are usually thought of as stand-ins for talking about race in pop culture. What do you think about all this? Why do you think people think that Piccolo is black, and green and blue characters in general? Why do you think that people think that these characters are black or otherwise people of color? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please check out my website, justaddcoloronline.com, and follow me on Just Add Color Online at Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok.